Alright, so in this demo, we are going to understand about the VPC creation. As we've spoken before, that a virtual private cloud or VPC network is a virtual version of a physical network which is implemented outside of the Google production network. Now, when we have a VPC network, we get the different things. We get the connectivity for our compute engine, which is the virtual machine instances. We get the basic network connectivity and all those things that we want to establish with the network. Now, when we're going to create a VPC, now there are different modes which are available in a VPC. You can choose to create an auto mode or a custom mode VPC network, and each network then you create needs to have a unique name within a same project. The first thing we want to do is to try and do a auto mode network VPC. So what we're going to do, if you go to the VPC network, as you can see, I can click on here and you can see we have all these networks which are created. If you remember when I said that every time you will launch or you will create a Google Cloud account, you will have a default network. Now, the way this whole thing is operating, that your VPC network is going to give you the associated routes and firewall rules. It's going to give you the subnets, which are my regional resources. You will get the traffic to and from the instances that can be controlled. Resources within the VPC network can communicate with one another by using the internal IPv4 address also. Now, when we talk about the auto mode VPC, as you can see here, and these are my default VPC options, you can click on, let's say, create a VPC network. And now what I'm going to do, I will be creating an automatic number. Let's give it a name, call it as demo 100. You want to give a description, it's okay, you can do that. But the moment we choose the subnet creation mode here, you see we have two options, either a custom or an automatic. Now let's click on the automatic mode, and the moment you do automatic, you see we have already got some suggestion from the Google Cloud that these are the regions that we have, and these are the available IP address range that's going to be part of the subnet. And then I can define the firewall rules that I want to have for this VPC, so that any resource within this network is then going to follow these rules. So initially I want to, let's say that I want to have ingress apply to all rule. That means that the ingress traffic, which is going to filter, come from the range of 0.0.0.0/0. That means from anywhere, and the protocol is ICMP. So any kind of ICMP protocol is allowed. If you want to do that, you can select that. You can see the ingress traffic for all the protocols is also allowed. But let's say if you're building an application, you don't want to allow all the traffic which is there. You want to have a limited traffic. Let's say I want to allow, in this case, just the SSH. For example, I only want to SSH to my machine, or any resource that is going to be part of this VPC. I want them to only have the incoming rule active for the port 22. Now you see we have two default rules. That means by default the firewalls are always in deny mode for inbound traffic. As you can see that you have a deny all rule for any of the ingress traffic apart from the one that we are explicitly defining, and we have the egress rule for all of the outbound traffic that it's there. So these are some default rules that you can't change, and then we select the routing mode, and basically we click on create, and you will see that we will have an automatic VPC mode created for us. It's creating up, and you can see at the bottom that's demo 100 is in process of creation. Alright, as you can see, we have the demo 100 VPC created in the auto mode, and these are different subnets which are being provided to us in all the regions which are supported by the Google Cloud. And that is how easy it is to create a auto mode VPC. Now we can also create a custom mode VPC. Now what's going to happen in the custom mode is that instead of using the Google suggested subnet range of the IP address, let's say if I have an enterprise network and I already have a predefined IP address range and I want to use that, then we can in this case create a subnet range for our own purpose. So let's do that. We go ahead and click on create VPC network again, And this time we're going to call it as demo 100, but we will call it as custom. And I'm here now choosing the mode as custom. Let's give the subnet a name, maybe my custom subnet. And the region I want to choose, let's say I'm going to choose Asia East 1. This is where I define the IP address range. Now let's define a range, for example 10.0.0. Let's say 16 / of, let's say 20. I'm defining this range for us. Oops, it says the CIDR range is not right. Let's fix that. All right, let me change that to 10.0.0.16/0 and / let's say use subnet mask of 20. There we go. Now we want to create a second IP address range. We can do that if that's what you want. Do we want to enable full logs? Because if you do that, it's gonna basically have a log established for in the stack driver, but we're gonna do that in that case. Now once you have this IP address range, as you see we have created a subnet, we are just going to go ahead and click on create. And you will see if you scroll down here, my demo 100 custom VPC network is in process. Alright, as you can see, this network just got created, but this time we have only one subnet because we created only one subnet in this custom network. Unlike the auto mode where we were getting the subnets for all the region, we just got one subnet because we created that for us. And if you kind of look at the subnet, let's click on it. You can see my subnet IP address range is the one as we actually defined. And this is how easy it's to create a VPC network on the Google Cloud using either an automatic mode or auto mode or the custom. Now let's say I've got my VPC network in place and everything is okay. How do I ensure my traffic is controlled? And that's where you use something called as firewall. Now if you look at under the VPC network option, we have something called as firewall. Let's look at what's inside the firewall. Now if you see in this firewall, we have different rules which are being defined. Now you can see all these rules are just meant for purpose. So you can see you have a default allow HTTP, that means to allow an HTTP which is port 80. As you can see here, the protocol from anywhere, this is the IP address range. And so if we put this rule, any resource that has this rule assigned or located, that will allow port 80 to be allowed from anywhere. Let's say if I want to create a custom rule, let's say I want to maybe allow port number, let's say port number 3000. Let's set a node port. I'm building a Node.js app, for example. So I'm going to create here, I'm going to say, all right, this is my node app rule. And I don't want to keep it default, but here I'm going to choose my network. Now in this case we have three options, and these three network are the VPC networks. We had the default, which was given by Google, then we created one in the auto mode, which is demo 100, and then we have a demo 100 custom. Let's choose the custom one for us. Now the priority is something that defines the way the rules are being applied. So if you have a lower priority, then that rule is gonna supersede the one that's had the higher priority. So the lower is the higher. Now this defines the direction of traffic: ingress traffic, allow on match, specify target tags if you have any. In this case, let's say what we're gonna use, let's say we are going to call it as a node app. Okay, IP address range, I want to give that from anywhere. Let's call it as 0.0.0/0. And then you want to have a port or a source filter, but we don't need it. This is where we define the protocol. Let's say I want to have the protocol. Let's do one thing. Instead of node, let's create a custom TCP actually, so that we can have an easy one. Let's put the port 443 this case. That's for the SSL. So we're gonna have this 443 for us to build this rule. Now you see that we are basically defining what? That the traffic coming to the port 443 from anywhere, this is IP range, should be allowed. That's an ingress traffic. So ingress traffic coming should be there, should be allowed for the port 443. We create this firewall rule. And you can see how easy it is for us to create a firewall rule, and then now I can attach this rule to any of my resource for whatever purpose I want to do. And you can see we have now a rule here that's ready. Once I create a resource, I can actually use this rule to kind of build my solution. So that brings us to the end of this demo, where we learned how to create a custom mode VPC, how to create an auto mode VPC, and how to configure a firewall rules. Thank you for watching this demo, and let's move to the next segment for us.